G'day, year 11. Hope you had a good weekend. Welcome back. What I've got for you today is just 2 lessons, but they're sort of 2 lessons worth of work within each lesson. So it sort of still counts as your 4. So yeah, I don't feel bad about that at all, in case you're wondering. So what we're going to look at today is, again, page 31 of our syllabus here. We're still on this page. We've been there for quite a while. We're going to look at this dot point here. Theories that offer an explanation or understanding of the development of the physical and social self. So in a nutshell, we have to look at 2 theorists to be studied from the following list. Now, we're only looking at one from this list, which is Erik Erikson. I think, let me just double check that. Yes. And then a theorist not listed above. I don't really like any of the other ones. I think they're a bit silly. So I thought of my own guy. You've probably may have heard of him, Maslow. But essentially what we're going to do is, throughout this week, I want you guys to complete some pretty heavy sort of research on these 2 different social theories. Essentially what they're going to do is give you an idea of, or a different perspective, or their sort of theories on how people grow up. Okay. So we're going to look at sort of both in this video, and then I'll let you go and do it. So the first guy that you're going to look at is Maslow. Okay. So Maslow had this thing called a hierarchy of needs, and basically how he saw humans develop is that you need to fill all these needs at the bottom of the table first. Once you've fulfilled all those needs, you then move on to the next stage of your development. And he's sort of given sort of prescribed age brackets for each kind of level. So the idea is that you grow up just needing basic needs, and then you need psychological needs, and then you need sort of self-fulfillment needs. So it's sort of this progression that humans go through in terms of how they become the best version of themselves, if you will. How I want you to go about it is, there are 2 websites here that you can use to look up Maslow's theory, and I want you to, after you've given both of those websites a thorough read, I want you to then look at questions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 there, okay, and answer those in your books. Now this sort of part of the syllabus here is more focused on our psychology and sociology, so it'll be quite dense or concept heavy, but it will be pretty interesting. And then we'll sort of talk about it in the Zoom on the Monday when I'm going to have you, but I'll also follow up on it next week. So that's lesson 14 I want you to do. So again, researching his theory, I want you guys to understand it quite deeply, and you'll have to in order to answer these questions. Once you've done that, syllabus saying we have to look at 2. Our second one is going to be Erik Erikson. I might even highlight here, which one am I doing? Whoop, wrong one. Our second one is Erik Erikson. What a name, right? Imagine naming your child that. That would be like my mother, if my last name was Robertson, calling me Robert Robertson. Such an unfortunate name. Anyway, so similar kind of deal here is, I want you to look at these websites here that I've linked. You may find other ones, but they're the ones I thought were quite good, that look at his theory of social development. Now, his is in a bit more detail. So he has sort of these 8 stages that he thinks people go through. So essentially, in a nutshell, how he views it is that during each stage, I want you guys to firstly copy this table in your book, actually, and then write these questions out. And same with this one, actually. I want you to copy that table out first, and then answer those questions. So with Erik Erikson, what he sort of defines is that at certain age brackets, you'll have what's called a psychosocial crisis, where you'll have 2 core values clash with each other. And when they clash and you sort of battle it out, you'll then come up with this basic virtue, which will then become part of your character. So for example, when you're from age 0 to 1.5, you'll go through the stage of trust versus mistrust. So in terms of trusting your parents or not trusting them. And the idea is that hopefully by the end of that psychosocial crisis stage, you will have gained their trust and therefore you gain that virtue of hope. Once you've finished that sort of crisis, you then go to the next stage. Okay, and the idea is that you have that crisis and you come out on top of it throughout each stage, up until the last one where you gain wisdom and you're holistic. The sort of stage that you guys are probably most familiar with is this idea of identity versus role confusion. So a lot of adolescents around the age, high school age here, are confused with who they are, and they're facing this concept of role confusion. You guys are not quite adults yet, but everyone's telling you that you're mature enough to, and you're a young adult, you should be making better decisions with your life, and yet with the same brush we're saying, oh, you're too immature to understand that, don't worry about it later. So it's that idea that you guys are therefore becoming really confused about who you are, and in order to get to the next stage you need to make sense of that. That's kind of the idea. But yeah, I want you guys again to use these websites to read about it in more detail. Answer these questions in your book, and then that'll be lesson 15. And that's the week done. It's pretty straightforward. Like I said, I'll talk about it more in the Zoom class that we have, but that's it. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time.